This is the T3X Hub Tent, and I picked it up after one too many late arrivals at camp, or fighting with poles in the rain sucked the joy out of the trip. I wanted something I could pop up fast, actually stand up in, and not worry about babying. After a summer of car camping, a shoulder season trip in the Rockies, and a couple soggy weekends on muddy ground, here's how it's held up and what it's really like to live with. I'd put this tent in that sweet spot between entry-level dome tents and the pricier expedition or canvas options. It's not ultralight. This is strictly for vehicle camping, but it's also not a big canvas beast or a rooftop tent. If you want fast setup and legit interior space without going all in on a rooftop rig, this sits right in the middle. It's sold as a 3-person, and sure, you can cram 3, but in practice I think it's perfect for 2+ gear, or one person who likes to spread out. Setup is the whole reason I wanted this tent, and it delivers. The hubs and frame are pre-assembled, so once it's out of the bag, it's a matter of popping the walls, popping the roof, and staking it down. I've timed it multiple times, and I'm consistently under 2 minutes, even in the dark with a headlamp. One stormy night, I pulled into camp with sideways rain coming down. I had this thing standing, and the reins lie on before my buddy even finished unrolling his poles. Teardown is just as fast, but there's a trick to getting it back in the bag. I fold it tight, walk the air out, and roll from the roof toward the hubs. The bag is generous, which feels like a small miracle in tent land. Even when I'm a little sloppy, it still zips. Living in it is where this tent surprised me. The walls stand pretty straight, so the interior feels bigger than the 76 by 82 footprint suggests. The 68-inch peak height means I can actually stand up to change clothes and not bang my head on the ceiling. I'm 5'9", and it's just right. The rectangular layout is a big improvement over square tents I've used. I can run a cot lengthwise and still stash a duffel and a cooler without turning the place into a maze. On clear nights, ditching the fly gives you a ton of sky through the mesh roof. On hot afternoons, the 6 mesh windows and 2 big doors move air like crazy. Condensation has been manageable as long as I crack the windows and use the upper vents. On a humid night, I wipe down a few damp spots with a small towel, and it was fine. Hardware-wise, the zippers are stout and don't snag much unless I'm yanking at a weird angle. The fabric feels tough without being tart thick. The removable floor is clutch. After a muddy weekend, I peeled it out, hosed it off, and let it dry while I packed the rest. The Velcro perimeter is beefy, but you do have to seat it carefully. If you're sloppy, tiny gaps can open where the hook and loop doesn't meet, and that's basically an open invite for mosquitoes. When I take an extra minute to press it all the way around, no issues. Weather has been a mixed bag, but mostly positive. Heavy rain hasn't bothered it. I rode out a rough squall that dumped buckets, and the interior stayed dry. Over a multi-day soaking, I noticed a faint weep at one hub seam. Nothing dramatic, more of a damp thumbprint at the corner that never grew. I've sealed seams on other tents before, and doing the hub areas on this would be a smart move if you're planning long, wet trips. Wind needs attention. With the walls as vertical as they are, a direct gust can push in a panel if you don't die it out. Once I learned to run 2 guy lines at an angle from each hub, it got way more solid. I actually swapped the stock guy lines for cam straps on a desert trip, and that turned it into a little bunker. The included L-shaped stakes are fine for loamy soil, but they bend on rocky ground. I upgraded to beefier stakes and never looked back. The door design is nice for airflow, but the threshold is high. I've caught a toe on it more times than I'd like to admit, especially on sleepy bathroom runs. I've adapted by keeping the door rolled wide and using a small mat to remind my brain where to step. Little annoyance, but it's worth calling out. Portability is where you pay for the convenience. It's about 30 pounds, and the collapsed pole length is long. The bag is roughly the size of a skinny golf bag. In my Subaru Outback, it slides diagonally without drama. In my friend's compact sedan, we had to fold the rear seats or throw it on the roof rack. Carrying it from the car to the site is easy enough with the handles, but I wouldn't want to haul it down a long trail. If you're a backpacker, this isn't your tent. If you're a car camper, the weight and length are a trade-off for the speed. Compared to what I used before, the difference is night and day. My old traditional dome tent took 15 minutes on a good day and felt cramped with 2 people and a dog. The T3X goes up so fast that I don't procrastinate setting up, and the near vertical walls mean I actually use the whole floor instead of crawling around the edges. I also used a big canvas tent a couple times on group trips. That canvas shelter laughs at wind and holds heat better, but it's heavier, slower, and needs a bigger footprint. The T3X sits in between, quicker than canvas, more livable than most domes, and way less commitment than a rooftop tent. One nice perk versus a rooftop tent is I can leave camp setup and still take the car out for a supply run. Cold nights are the one place where the tall volume shows its downside. It's harder to trap heat. With a good pad and sleeping bag, I've been fine, but it's not a cozy little cocoon. Hot weather is where it shines. Crack all 6 windows and both doors, and the airflow is excellent. I even ran a small fan inside one afternoon, and the tent stayed comfortable for a nap. A quick note on versions. I went with the standard T3X and added better stakes and a footprint. If you plan to keep it on a roof rack, or you camp in rocky terrain a lot, the Overland version makes sense because the bag is more weatherproof and the stakes are tougher. If you're hauling it in the back of your car, the standard tent plus a couple small upgrades is a solid setup. Value-wise, this has been worth it for me. I'm out camping a couple weekends a month during the season, and the amount of time and frustration it saves adds up fast. It's not cheap, like a big box tent, but I'm getting durability, real livability, and that ultra-fast setup every single trip. If you're mostly car camping, want the ability to stand up, and don't mind the longer pack size, I'd say it's absolutely worth buying. If your vehicle is tiny, or you're hiking to camp, I'll wrap this up with the 2 things that matter the most to me after months of use. I spend less time fiddling with a shelter and more time actually relaxing at camp. And I no longer dread setting up in the rain or breaking down in the morning. That's what sold me, and it's why the T3X has become my default tent. Drop your questions in the comments if there's something I didn't cover, or if you want me to test a specific scenario. If you've used the T3X or a similar instant tent, I'd love to hear your experience too. Subscribe if you want more real-world gear reviews like this, and thanks for hanging out with me in this video.